This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Brittany is away tonight. We begin with breaking news. The RCMP are investigating a triple homicide in western Manitoba. It happened near McCreary, which is southeast of Dauphin. The CBC's Zabina Ahmed has more from RCMP D Division headquarters, where a news conference wrapped up not long ago.
RCMP say in total 4 people are dead. 3 of the deaths are considered homicide. It started just after 10 when police found a 41-year-old man who they say died from a self-inflicted injury in the RM of McCreary. They then got a call to check on a woman. They checked her home but couldn't find her. While searching, they found 3 other people dead at a different home. Police say the victims are a 66-year-old woman, a 65-year-old man, and a 35-year-old man.
All 5 parties are related in some fashion. As we get more information, like I said, we'll be willing to commit to giving you more information as it becomes available.
RCMP say they found the missing woman safe and she was taken to the hospital as a precaution. They're not looking for any suspects and say there is no risk to the public. Zabina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Provincial Health Agency is investigating after an error led to a family burying the wrong remains. Pimicikamak Cree Nation told CBC News the community member's body was at Winnipeg's Health Sciences Centre for an autopsy, but the wrong body was sent back north to the family. And as the CBC's Arturo Chang reports, Shared Health says this is not the only time something like this has happened.
In a hastily called press conference today, CEO Lynette Siagusa said Shared Health learned about the error last week. That's after an internal request prompted a check within the morgue at its Health Sciences Centre.
This is a tragic and extremely painful error, and we are so sorry for the hurt and the harm that it has caused.
Since then, 2 other near misses have been found. Bodies signed out of Shared Health facilities, which had to be sent back by funeral homes in recent weeks.
I am also calling for an external review. Shared Health is now in the process of seeking an external partner to review these processes that are in place.
The Pimicikamak Cree Nation says the family of Keith Wilson was notified earlier this week that they buried the wrong body. His remains had been sent for an autopsy last month after they were found by a river near Norway House. The family buried the wrong remains in that community in a sealed casket. Chief David Moniaz says the situation has reopened wounds that will take time to heal.
Once you start healing, when you do the burial and stuff like that, we do the wakes. Now it's just like we did the wake and we for the wrong body. We are grieving and mourning the wrong body.
Shared Health says it is looking into what led to the error, but in the meantime, it's heavily limiting access to the morgue and it's putting more restrictions who gets to sign out a body. It's also doing an audit of its records to check whether there's been a mistake like this in the past. Shared Health says it's working to reunify the families with the remains of their loved ones and that it will pay for a new funeral. Arturo Chang, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba is adding more beds in an aim to free up space in emergency departments. Instead of waiting in ERs, some patients will be placed into 68 transitional beds while they await a longer-term placement. The beds in Selkirk are in a community health facility. Health Minister Uzoma Asaguera says the beds are already cutting wait times in Selkirk.
The folks who have been admitted through these TCU beds are folks who would have otherwise been in medicine beds in the hospital and not moving through the system. And that means we're talking about 17 other folks who wouldn't have been able to get into those medicine beds in hospital receiving the appropriate level of care. That to me is a pretty measurable impact.
Some beds are already at the 24/7 safe space run by St. Boniface Street Links. There's also beds at the Misericordia and Holy Family Personal Care Home in Winnipeg. 5 municipalities near Winnipeg are raising concerns about a new regional planning framework. They want changes or scrapped altogether. The CBC's Bartley Kivas is live in the newsroom for us tonight. So Bartley, what is this plan?
Well, it's called Plan 2050. It's a planning framework for Winnipeg and 17 surrounding municipalities. It calls for regional coordination when it comes to developing roads, expanding transit service, wastewater treatment, or emergency services. Now, Brian Pallister's former government, the former PC government, ordered this plan up. The plan's now going through a public hearing process with the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. That's a provincially appointed body.
So, Bartley, what is the problem with this plan?
Selkirk, Niverville, Headingley, St. Andrews, and East St. Paul, those municipalities want no part in the plan, or they want to see changes made to it. They say it's vague and will prevent them from making their own decisions. Dwayne Nickel is Chief Administrative Officer with the City of Selkirk.
We're seeing the increase in cost, the increasing red tape, and the disconnect between the decisions being made and the actual on-the-ground lived experience of the communities and the residents that have to live with this.
Jennifer Freeman, the director of the Winnipeg Metro Region, says a plan is needed to replace a patchwork of rules in different municipalities. She says major employers are passing over the Winnipeg region because of a lack of coordination.
So what is now happening with this plan, Bartley?
Well, there were supposed to be 2 public hearings, and one was held in Winnipeg. A second, slated for Niverville, was postponed after too many people showed up. Freeman says social media is awash with misinformation about the plan. Ultimately, Municipal Relations Minister Ian Bushy has to sign off on this plan. His government deferred comment about it until next week. Riley.
Thanks, Bartley. CBC's Bartley Kivas in the newsroom for us tonight. Work has resumed to demolish a crumbling warehouse on McDermott Avenue. The City of Winnipeg ordered the warehouse torn down about a month ago after residents noticed bricks falling off of the sides. But provincial workplace health and safety officials ordered that work stop a few days later over concerns about asbestos. The province has now lifted that stop work order. That happened on Tuesday. An evacuation order, though, for a neighboring multi-unit residence remains in effect. Theft continues to be a concern for Manitobans, and the issue is impacting more than just convenience stores and residential properties. One Winnipeg business owner is speaking out about the increase in theft directed at contractors and their job sites. The CBC's Mike Arsenault has more.
A forklift full of materials is getting dropped off at the Simmons Masonry job site, and the owner, Greg Simmons, is going to keep a close eye on it. He says in recent months, theft has been a growing concern for his growing business.
Part of the reason why we're experiencing more theft is that we're growing, we're expanding, which is good for our city, right? But theft in general is just getting worse.
Simmons Masonry does renovations and restorations in Winnipeg and parts of Manitoba. He says everything from tools to materials and even company vehicles have been stolen from his job sites.
We had a $15,000 swing stage motor stolen about 2 months ago, just simply stolen for scrap. We've had people grab the tools and run down the alleys with them, with us right there.
Winnipeg Construction Association has more than 750 members across the province. It's hearing from members that theft and equipment damage is becoming a greater problem at work sites, and there's a trickle-down effect that comes with it.
So it affects the customer, it affects possible timeframes to complete the job, and it can obviously impact the cost of construction.
Winnipeg police say it's received multiple theft reports from Simmons Masonry, but can't say how many contractors are being impacted by theft because it doesn't break down commercial business theft into specific categories.
I want to see Winnipeg prosper and grow and do better, but this is something that's going to hamper that.
Winnipeg police say businesses can reduce theft by installing cameras and making sure areas are adequately lit. It also suggests registering all equipment. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A 24/7 drop-in center for at-risk youth in Winnipeg got an injection of government funding today. Tina's Safe Haven will get close to $1 million in combined federal and provincial dollars. That funding will go towards supports that some say could be the difference between life and death. The CBC's Gavin Axelrod reports.
At the monument honoring missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people, the province announced more funding to prevent further tragedies. Tina's Safe Haven is getting more money for things like an on-site nurse, doctor, and mental wellness counselor. Essentials the organization's executive director calls immeasurable.
So to have those resources come to them and meet them where they're at, that can be really life-changing for people.
Open at all hours, 7 days a week, the Safe Space for Teens is named in honor of Tina Fontaine. It's run by Nadinaway on Selkirk Avenue.
Literally that first point of contact with predominantly Indigenous youth.
Manitoba's Families Minister also says the government is putting words into action.
It's not enough anymore for folks to say, like, yes, we believe or support MMIWG2S without putting your money where your mouth is.
And Amber LaPlante welcomes Friday's announcement. She grew up in care and says essential services for youth didn't exist back then.
There wasn't a lot of trust or safety, and I think that this funding will allow maybe perhaps prevention.
Fontaine was only 15 when her body was pulled from Winnipeg's Red River a decade ago. But through places like this, the push through change that came after her death will continue for years to come. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, people driving in South Winnipeg will notice new traffic lights and a crosswalk at Brady Road and McGillivray Boulevard. The four-way lights were officially turned on this morning. They will allow people to safely access Fort White Alive's new Buffalo Crossing facility. Jennifer Dirksen lives in the area. She says having the lights and crosswalk will be safer for her and her kids to cross the road, which has a speed limit of 80 kilometers an hour.
A few years ago, it would be a little scary to cross. We wanted to come here, but I was always very nervous trying to get us across safely. So this just makes me feel better. And if they want to come biking themselves, again, it's just way safer, so.
The new Buffalo Crossing facility is set to open this winter. Well, here's a live look at downtown Winnipeg this hour. 24 degrees at the moment. Quite a hazy one out there as well, right across southern Manitoba today. Darius Madavi is here now with a look at our forecast.
Yes, Riley, there's definitely something happening up in the sky. Not the haziest days that we've seen, but there is definitely something happening up in the sky. This is a shot last hour from Brandon, and you can see there's definitely something up there. Across much of the province, it's fairly similar. A decent amount of haze, not all of it making its way down to the south, but over the next 48 hours or so, that will change at times. We'll have a decent amount of surface smoke coming, so it's a good chance to, a good time to check those air quality advisories or just the air quality level before you go outside at times this weekend, especially if you are near one of those fires. The winds generally are going to be blowing from the north, carrying a lot of that smoke down further south. Now, generally at the surface level, that means a little bit more smoky conditions in the south than you might expect given where the fires are located. If we look at the surface smoke forecast for tomorrow, again, most of the spots are concentrated around those fires, but a decent amount of surface smoke will make its way down to the south, particularly in the southwestern parts of the province. Now, if we look into tomorrow, you're going to notice something fairly similar. That was today. Tomorrow, we're going to see, again, a decent amount of surface smoke making its way down. Those northerly winds bringing a lot of that smoke down to the south. So again, just be aware of that. In some places, you may see some fairly decent surface smoke at times tomorrow. Generally, if we look at our radar and warnings, a lot more dry, you'll notice, than yesterday down in the south. We do have those severe wind warnings in place for the lakes, as we often do. Not unusual for sure, but yes, much calmer than it was yesterday. If you look at our forecast for tonight, again, some decent cloud cover throughout much of the south. Some places, especially the areas around Winnipeg, especially some of that cloud building back in overnight before clearing up throughout the day tomorrow, which we'll see in a second. If we take a look at the forecast for a little bit further north, generally a little bit clearer in many places. Temperatures not changing too much from what we've seen recently. If we take a look at our hour by hour for tomorrow, up in the north, again, some decent cloud cover in a few places, but then we do see that clearing up. Generally a pretty dry day, a little bit of cloud coverage, especially again if you're in the more northern parts. Down in the south, again, a lot of cloud coverage for the southwestern parts of the province to kick off the day, southeastern parts, but then clearing up through the morning and especially through the afternoon. On Sunday, we've got a bit of a different story. Up in the north, again, we do have some cloud coverage at times, but then also clearing up. Throughout the more central parts of the province, we are going to have some of that rain move through. It's possible that the Paul will get a little bit of that, but generally it won't be too much if you do see that those showers. Then mostly moving over the lakes. And again, for the more southern parts of the province, generally just a pretty sunny day. So if we focus on Winnipeg in particular, just really quickly, you'll notice tonight, decent amount of cloud cover, but then as we head into tomorrow morning, clearing up, and then we've got a fairly sunny afternoon to start off our weekend.
All right, thank you so much, Darius. Well, still ahead for us tonight, it is a sold-out show in Winnipeg tonight for an emerging girl group from the Philippines. We'll bring you the fan excitement just ahead. Stay with us. An emerging girl group from the Philippines is here in Winnipeg. Beanie will be performing a sold-out show tonight at the Centennial Concert Hall. And as Michaela De Los Santos shows us, fans here are in a frenzy.
They call themselves Blooms. That's the fandom name for the Philippines' newest girl group, Beanie. Here in Canada, many of them have sprung. EJ Paris from Edmonton is one of them, and the group's music has had a big impact on her.
It's because they're telling you they're there for you. They care for you. My favorite, it's gonna be Stacy.
Paris has spent money out of her own pocket to print out almost 5,000 hand banners to give away to fellow fans. And that wasn't enough. She'll be printing out more for the group's last stop in Toronto.
I have one luggage that's all just the banners.
It's just banners?
It's just banners.
And they're just not popular in the Filipino community. Kaden Simpson is a K-pop fan. She found out about Beanie on social media and through friends. She says that P-pop, or Filipino pop, has a lot of similarities with K-pop.
I really do see it gaining popularity. I have a few friends over in the UK and things like that, and they know about Beanie and they know about P-pop.
The sound is just one element of what she likes.
I really like their style, the way that their outfits are styled and the style of their music videos. It's just very fresh and colorful, and it really goes with the young audience.
Winnipegger JP Sumbilio has seen the growth of Philippine-based acts performing in Canada since he arrived in 2006.
In a year, we have 1 or 2 artists from the Philippines, but now, oh my goodness, it's like 3 or 4 or whatnot in 1 month.
For many non-fans, Beanie may just be another girl group. But for the fans that have dedicated a lot of support, seeing them live will always be an important moment. Michaela De Los Santos, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, it is a sea of sunflowers, perfect for those summer selfies. The Sunflower Experience opened today at Deer Meadow Farms on Springfield Road. The 6-acre field is open for selfies and other activities like yoga and wine tasting, if that's your thing. CBC community reporter Shannalee Vidal stopped by for a preview.
I'm Shannalee Vidal, and I'm here at Deer Meadow Farms for the Sunflower Experience, and this is Vince Ratai. Hi, Vince.
Hi, good morning.
So to get to the sunflowers, I understand we have to hop aboard a tractor.
Yeah, we're going to take everybody on the experience this year on a wagon train across the farm, through the forest, down the path, across the bridge, and then you're there.
Let's hop on.
Okay. All right, everybody, we're here. All right, so you can see our sunflowers are just starting to pop. That means the bloom is starting, and probably within a few days, it'll go from this percentage to literally a field of yellow in no time. So we're still setting up in this area. We've got a bunch of different props you can see. We have the sun bar here, and people, this area is licensed, so they can grab a cocktail or a mocktail, and then they can wander the trails. So here we have our decks where people can hang out, sipping a cocktail, or if they have a little snack or lunch or something from the food truck. So this is the viewing platform. So up here we can get pictures above the sunflowers. It's kind of like being on a boat in the middle of the ocean.
Well, I was thinking that because I'm here and all I see is a sea of sunflowers.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I know you said a lot of them are still have yet to bloom, but I see so many blooms from high up here.
Yeah, and there's more coming.
I love sunflowers because they're so short-lived. They're the equivalent of lilacs, but at the end of summer.
What's it like to do yoga in an atmosphere like this?
It's absolutely beautiful. I love it, but it's wonderful, and the whole experience you get walking through the trails, it's nothing like it. So the yoga on the 19th is going to be very relaxing. It's going to be a yin type of yoga, and the sound bath will be glass singing bowls. And then the second one on August 26th will be a little bit faster, but still beginner pace. I hope people get some time with their thoughts and peace within nature, and they get to experience just the short-lived season of the sunflowers and being present in the moment.
Here's a blossom, and this is forming. So you've got a little, probably another 4 or 5 days where it's gonna start expanding and filling out. It'll last 2 weeks. If you blink, you'll miss it. The bloom is very short.
Well, doesn't this look refreshing? Especially on a warm weekend like the one we're expecting. A little bit of a swim might not be a bad idea. Darius Madavi is back after the break with a last check on our weekend forecast. Stay with us. We're back right after this.
Well, I have to confess, Riley, yesterday I was overwhelmed by the cuteness of this pup, and I Did make a mistake on the name. I forgot to change that. So this is Deacon. He's clearly not a Bruno, but his forecast for tomorrow is that we're going to see that sky clearing up throughout Winnipeg tomorrow. So good chance to go in the afternoon if you want to get a little bit of sunshine with your pup. Thank you, Dan, for this one. And now the real Bruno. Here we go. This is our forecast for Sunday. Mostly sunny throughout the entire day on Sunday. So a lot more opportunity to get outside. And come on. That's much more of a Bruno. So thank you, Brian and Pat, for that. And I promise that was not an excuse for me to just show 2 dogs. That was really neat to do that. Throughout the weekend, again, lots of clearing up. And as we get into next week, a few chances for thunderstorms, mostly on Tuesday and Thursday, but fairly low chance at the moment. And generally, we've got a fairly sunny forecast in store. Riley?
Thanks, Darius. If you like those temperatures, pretty decent if you ask me. Well, it was the only beat that mattered in 1964, one that got a lot of Winnipeggers twisting and shouting. This blast from the past is our daily lift tonight. Sunday marks 60 years since the very first time the Beatles ever set foot in Canada, and yes, it was right here in Winnipeg. The band was heading from London to San Francisco for their first North American tour when their plane touched down in Winnipeg, ever so briefly to refuel at the airport. It was supposed to be a quick and quiet stop, but that turned into a frenzy when it was announced on local radio that the Fab Four were landing. Hordes of fans flocked to the airport, filling the tarmac with screams and cries. What a great way to go into the weekend. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you on Monday.